So I was just one of the 7 teachers who was part of this working group, and this is a lot. We met 5 full days and we had homework. So again, we are not expecting all the participants who never really doing this kind of work to create, I don't know, maybe just reinvent your entire curriculum. It's not like that. So as long as you are inspired by our work, maybe 1 or 2 things that you can think about what you are going to do next school year, I think that's a really good change. So this is us. To just give you an overview of the content standards, it looks like this, right? 7.1 through 11 and all regions. So it's more like dots. And where are the other numbers? Right here. It's mostly more than half of content are focused on Europe. So it's definitely more Eurocentric, and it focuses on the Northern Hemisphere and region-based and elite, especially political development of nation states and empires and civilizations. It's more about covering content. So the framework really suggests something different. It doesn't really stand alone. It more likely kind of complement the content standards so they can work together. So if you look at this, it's definitely, we still see some dots, but those are different type of dots that I'm going to explain later on. So we see more connections. And as you can see, the world map right here is a duplicate this part right here and here, because I'm not really fancy enough to create a 3D model with all the web. So it's just 2D. So this is the basic framework. How is it different? So as you can see, all the dots are now connected and it covers different parts of the world. So in short, definitely more agency of different groups of peoples. And instead of just Northern Hemisphere only, Eastern and Western hemispheres and how they are becoming connected, especially as the sites of encounter. If you're familiar with the new textbooks came out after 2016, or if you're familiar with you see, especially on Davis, they have great lessons on sites of encounter. A lot of textbooks actually include a lot of sites of encounter lessons as well. The keyword is interconnectivity. So our overarching question for 7th grade, how did the transition from regional to global interconnection during the 1st and 2nd millennia set the stage for the world we live in today? So if you're in 6th grade, you saw this overarching question, and now it's a really big question. And if you look at this, so I know some of you, if you've never seen this before, I feel you. When I first saw this kind of map about 5 years ago, it was definitely overwhelming. But again, let me give you a brief overview of this course map. So it goes from Unit 1 to Unit 5. So it has a course question we just read together. 7th grade, so it has different grade levels. And then the teaching thesis at the end at the bottom right here. So each unit also has different topics, 4 to 5 topics, and it has all the links to different lesson plans that we put together, or not necessarily created by us, but we also pull different resources from appropriate websites as well. So let's go. So first unit, let's see. So the first unit, we definitely want to reinforce the idea of interconnection. But interconnection, if you ask students what it is, some students might have an idea, but we definitely want to teach explicitly if that's the keyword of our entire course. So start from something small. So if you see, I know we do have teachers from outside of the Bay Area and San Francisco Bay Area as well, but because we are in the Bay, all the 7 teachers, we work together. So San Francisco, we're all connected to the world. How are we connected? So this is the box from the course map that I showed you that looks pretty complicated. I just took the first unit box out. So this is what it means. How am I connected to the world around me? And also it has different lessons. And if you actually go to each unit map, it does have more detailed lessons and guidance as well. So in the end, after the scholar talk, I will demo one of the lessons about San Francisco as a site of encounter. So the second unit, now we're actually going to the Middle Ages time. So we decided to start with Western Hemisphere first. So as you can see, still not really connected world. And as you can see, traditionally, if you look at the dots, those are the two dots the content standard suggests. But as you can see, the lines, especially we focused on the vertical exchange in the Western Hemisphere. So some of you are probably familiar with guns, germs, and stills. So if you're familiar with the book, Jared Diamond, or a documentary that actually explains the world geography, how the world, two hemispheres developed differently too. And also there's another one right here, and then, along with the Mississippi and the Caribbean. And one thing that was very interesting while working on this was, I'm gonna go back to this one here. So the Pacific Island, this was, I think, definitely when it comes to giving more agency to people who are not really previously underrepresented. And this was really interesting part that I actually created one of the lessons around this area based on Maui and how chicken was transmitted to the different part of the South America. It's a very extensive lesson, but again, this triangle was not really well recognized or well taught in traditional seventh grade history classes. So going back to right here, so focus on Western Hemisphere. I think I have about 3 minutes, right? And how Americas and the Pacific Islands, how they interacted with each other, how the regional interconnections in different parts of Western Hemisphere were developed, and how people were, the consequences of the interconnection. So the third unit, now we are moving to the Eastern Hemisphere. So of course, a lot more extensive, and each dot represent the sites of encounter that we have in our course map. Of course, you can add on more. It's not, the network, of course, is a lot simpler than how it was before. So it's just, again, it's a very simplified version. And Eastern Hemisphere, and one thing you want to think about is how the interconnection was accelerated towards 1490. And unit 4, finally, two hemispheres are interconnected. Of course, we can definitely bring a more, if you are teaching 8th grade, because I teach also 8th grade too, this is how I normally revisit towards end of 7th grade year, so that, and also I start with this in my 8th grade class as well, so that in America is international already. So you see the transatlantic triangle as well. And so as a recap, so unit 2 to 4, you can look at this map like you read a Chinese book from right side to left. So from here all the way towards right here. So unit 2, 3, and 4. Now you can see the world, our world is interconnected. Of course, it's not as extensive as this. Sorry about the arrows. I thought I deleted it. Please just don't think about that. I tried to draw all the arrows, but I gave up. It's way too more extensive, and it's all connected everywhere. So contemporary interconnection, how this world. So what's the point of learning about the dead people? right? Unless we actually use it and apply our knowledge and skills into a contemporary world. So one of the ideas that we can think about as a climate change, and of course, different topics based on your student population, you can definitely link it to different current issues. So I was also part of a civic action group as well. So I did a little bit of in-school civic action activity with this. So again, let's go back to the overarching question. So how did the transition from regional to global interconnection set the stage for the world we live in today? And I hope this course map, so unit 1 all the way up to 5, I hope this unit map makes a little more sense to you and inspired you at least a little, 1 or 2 things that you want to try something new for next school year.